Okay. Welcome everybody to Scaling Lean's Weekly Live. Jonathan Poransky and Nina Brennan here to share with you the tidbits of sustainable scaling in the online industry. We have a fun topic today for those of you who are running paid ads or looking to running paid ads. But we are the co-founders of Scaling Lean, and every week we do go live. Wins, losses, successes, and failures that we've experienced both with our business and with the businesses that we work with. We're just here to bring some transparency to the online space because there's not a lot of that out there nowadays. So you're going to get raw and real feedback if you check out our lives every Thursday at 1 p.m. EST. And today we're going to go over with you simplifying the data behind paid ads. I know that JP, you put out data operator. I love that term because you do have to be the data operator in your business or have one in order to scale properly. So what we're going to go over today is number one, what KPIs and conversion metrics should you aim for based on your funnel that you have set up? Number two, setting realistic goals with your spending budget. And number three is how you know when it's time to scale up your ads. And something that motivated this live today was the way that you broke down Sid's ads. When I saw that, it was like he was kind of worried about how much he was spending on ads versus the return. But then the compound effect hit, and in what, 3 days, he closed $12,000 in paid in full clients with only spending X many dollars on ads. So I kind of want to walk through like what it's like to set up a campaign and wait for that optimization to see that ROAS. And then also what we just talked about is when you know when to scale, how to actually set the targeted budget, and what to actually look for in a campaign. So with that being said, we can dive right in.
Absolutely. So just to preface this a little bit, I know there are some new group members here, and we are now broadcasting this on YouTube. So this will be episode 3 on YouTube. But Nina and I have actually been hosting this live series since December of 2022 in our Facebook community called the Scaling Lean group. We're called to close in 21 days or less. So tap the link if you're on YouTube, join the community. We have loads of free resources to connect you with for helping you convert cold leads into closed deals in as little as 21 days. Loads of promo campaigns, load of material on paid advertising. And just wanted to preface that, Nina, because we are growing our audience now to new platforms. And if you are new to the group, put your hand up if you have a question with anything to do with email marketing, content, converting content, conversions, or conversations rather. We can connect you with some of those past live events. So as always, comment on the videos. We're here to take live Q&As and let us know where you're tuning in from. So yeah, Nina, let's hop in. I think the first bullet point we have here is really based around KPIs or key performance indicators and what to aim for based on your funnel setup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to preface this video with JP and I were reluctant to get into paid advertising because of what we were told by past coaches is you can scale organically and you can just expand your platforms, which is totally true. You can expand your platforms and get more reach. But when JP and I decided that we wanted to be more so in the background, in the underground, paid advertising was the only way that we were going to scale our business that resonated with our specific being, our souls, and everything like that. So if you are somebody that wants to be on every single social media platform, ripping short form content, long form content, this kind of content all day, every day, all power to you. Paid ads work, organic work, and I just want to put that out there. But when we were first starting to get into paid advertising, there was that little bit of like, I don't want to do this because we didn't have the right strategy behind it. But once we learned about congruency and once we learned about optimization of not only for numbers, but also for like the congruency of copy through the funnel and the follow-up, it made it so much easier. And that's what we bring to the table here at Scaling Lean is congruency for optimization, and then also looking at the numbers and helping you become the data optimizer of your business or data operator of your business. So you can see exactly what you should be looking at and make data-driven decisions rather than based on feeling and emotion and what you think is going to work from quote unquote intuition. Intuition could only be backed by data to prove it right. So with that being said, that's what we want to talk about today is what are we actually looking at when it comes to a number standpoint, KPIs, as you said, key performance indicators, as well as conversion metrics. And what we're going to specifically focus on with the funnel that we're talking about is a video sales letter funnel from cold traffic. So we're going to start there. That's really it's been proven time and time again for scalability that video sales letter funnels are very scalable. High ticket, of course. So we'll just start there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we focus primarily on Meta. We do have a couple of different ways to help with Google ads, but we're not really focused on that right now. We're focused 100% on VSL funnels here on Facebook or Instagram. So yeah, let's hop in, Nina. So, kind of the way I like to think about this process, and I believe this is missing in the industry, is we need to kind of segment the ads, people that are running ads based on, are you brand new and like running your first ad, or are you at the like $100 a day or more like range, right? Because those two have similar KPIs. And as we get further along in this live, we're going to showcase like the scalability factor and all those type of things, right? But let's start real basic and like let's just take a person that's either placed ads before, maybe wasn't successful, or is now looking to get into that space. Our favorite people to work with are the people that are already spending 50 to $100, and we help them scale to 100, 200 and above, right? But with that being said, the real big indicators that we want to focus on are the indicators that will drive the revenue drivers inside of our business. So ultimately, that's going to be a closed deal. But initially, when you're first placing those ads, you want to really be looking closely at how much is it going to take for me to spend in order to get a book call. We don't really care so much about lead costs. I mean, yes, we do want to see lead costs less than $20, but based on our congruent copy method, we've been able to achieve that with like, it's almost like standard, right? Like if you're not getting that lead cost, you have major problems with your message, major problems with your offer. That should be a really like low hanging fruit for you to achieve. So we optimize right off the bat for book call, and we should set our KPI for no more than $200 for a book call. So why don't we start there, Nina? I don't want to get too deep too quick. And do you have any input on that initial like thought process that I had there?
No, I think it's perfect, and I think that's exactly where we should focus this video.
Wonderful. So that's where we focus primarily first, because that's going to get us the feedback that we need to determine, is the audience good? Is the VSL good? Is the messaging that we're communicating in line with the ideal client avatar for inside our offer? And ultimately, are we able to take 6 to 10 leads and turn two or three of those leads into closed deals at a 20% close rate, right? Part of the struggle that we went through, Nina, early on, right? We spent tens of thousands, and we saw businesses spend over $20,000 and unfortunately not have a lot of success. We've heard the horror stories. What those businesses oftentimes run into, based on our experience, is they'll build a VSL, but the message isn't dialed in, and essentially the VSL turns into like a brick wall, right? So people aren't actually getting on the phone because it's not converting properly. And then they say their paid ads don't work, or my VSL funnel sucks. And it's really not that. It's really the actual congruent copy method of that whole process, and being able to diagnose like what's broken inside the video. Are people like getting to 1 minute and dropping off? Are they getting to 3 minutes and dropping off? Are they seeing the whole video, but they're not like making that move? Like, is the VSL not powerful enough to push them into action to book a call? So really that's the challenge that we faced early on, that we went honestly probably 6 to 12 months trying to figure out like what was it that we needed to do in order to get that traffic to not only see our ad, but go all the way through our 4 to 5 minute value video, and then be compelled to really move onto our calendar, and then ultimately lead to a conversation that would close.
Yeah, I think something important that you just brought up was watching people that we've worked with very hand in hand and very closely with hire an ads agency, or I should say ads agency, and the ads agency was only responsible for lead generation. And I think it's super important and super crucial to have an understanding, if you're ever looking to outsource something that you're kind of scared of, you don't understand, or you don't want to get into, to understand the full process before delegating it out or hiring somebody to do it. If they're not able to tell you exactly what you're going to get and the specific outcome based on their work that they're implementing inside of your business. And the mistake that we saw with people that were outsourcing ads and outsourcing their marketing efforts was the entire system that was promised was not actually complete. So one of our clients that was hiring an ads agency, like I said before, they were only responsible for lead generation. So it's in a matter about the quality of the leads. It's in like how much they were actually making, the return on ad spend. It was only the leads getting pumped into their ecosystem. But with that said, the ecosystem wasn't fully developed, and there wasn't a nurturing process or a conversion process in place, which led to a lot of money out, but not a lot of money returned. So over $20,000 was spent with zero return. And that is very common in the online industry, is be clear on what your lead generation agency or client acquisition agency is actually delivering. It's lead generation and conversion, and making sure that the entire client acquisition system is meshing together and actually producing the desired result that you are looking for, which is that 3 or more return on ad spend.
Absolutely, Nina. I absolutely love that. Now, the other thing that I want to be ultra clear on here, that we found that, I mean, we've worked with agencies and inside of business and inside of our own business, right? And I believe the big thing that was a shortcoming was the initial expectation of what to expect and how much money do I need to spend in order to get that awesome funnel that you're talking about, right? Like, what is it going to take me to go from 0 ad spend to $100 a day, or from $100 a day to $300 a day, right? So to set the expectation, and now this isn't like an end all be all. We have clients starting at $20 a day and having success and getting calls on calendar for $100 to $200 a day. But we always recommend at Scaling Lean starting off, and you should set the goal that when you're ready to go into paid ads at $50 a day minimum. And the reason we want to see that, and we want that to be the bare minimum, is because we want to get the number of conversions through your funnel to essentially get 50 leads per month, right? At minimum. And also at a $200 call rate at $1,500, you'll be getting roughly 7 calls. So that would boil down to roughly 1 closed deal per month, which would essentially at a high ticket price make you break even for that month, right? Where if you're going down to like $10 or $20 a day, maybe you're only going to get a couple calls, right? And that essentially will take a longer time for you to get that return on ad spend back. So I do want to put that forward, Nina, because I feel like people get in too deep too quick, and they have way too high of expectations based on every single ad that's going through their newsfeed right now is like, turn on ads and like you're going to be massively successful in like the next 7 days. Like that is possible, but the overall like market median, right? It's not a reality, right? We like to start with conservative budgets between $50 and $100 starting off, and we like to see the data come back in a 30 to 45 day window, give us what we want to see, which is essentially a closed deal, and then we scale up vertically from there in the green, not in the red, right?
Yeah, and something that wasn't mentioned, which I loved everything that you just said, but testing one variable at a time is very crucial, because then you can kind of figure out what's working and what's not working. And I think this streamlines perfectly in the kind of conversion metrics that are actually the most important to be looking at, and what we tend to track here at Scaling Lean in order to make sure that, ads are working, your funnel's working, your follow-up game is working, and what the bottleneck is when it comes to actually closing a high ticket deal on the phone. So 3 things that you must look at when running paid advertising is, number 1 is, what is the lead cost? Number 2 is cost of call, and number 3 is cost of acquisition. And those are 3 of the most crucial things, but it's not the only 3 things that we track. We track every single funnel metric, from cost per click, how long people are actually watching the video, or I should say opt-in rate, what the opt-in rate to video and actually video consumed, how many people are filling out the survey before the call, how many people get onto the call, what the no-show rate is versus the show-up rate, and then also call conducted and not closed, call conducted closed. Every single one, and I know that I just ripped through the entire funnel there. We can pull it up, or if you want it, you can say hashtag funnel metrics, and we'll give you our spreadsheet of everything that we track. But it's super crucial to understand that you're looking at how many people are coming into the ecosystem. What is the actual booking rate from people coming into the ecosystem? What was the cost for that actual action? And what was that cost of acquisition? And for high ticket deals, anywhere above $2,000, which is typically who we work with, so it can cover the entire cost of ad spend, we want that budget for like cost per call under $500. And like, I know that might sound scary if you're first getting into paid ads and you're like, oh, I only have like $1,500 to like $3,000 to spend per month on ads. It's 1 deal closed. And if you're getting that 20% close rate, which is like what you should be getting with cold traffic, if you have that 20% close rate, it's a snowball effect. So people will come into the ecosystem. About 60% of the people that actually will book a call with you will book a call, and you'll get that cash on cash return, but you'll also get that revenue return over time. So you're really not spending any money out of pocket. And if you shift your mindset from thinking, this is an investment in my business and it's going to be recouped with the ad, I need 1 closed deal in order to spend or in order to run it, paid ads seems a lot less scary. And like it took a very big mindset shift for, I'm not going to speak for you, but for me, because when I think ads, it goes back to like the drop shipping days of like, oh, I just spent $1,000 when I'm completely broke and I made like $27 at the end of the day. And like I didn't have the money to spend 4 or 5 years ago when I was first dabbling into paid ads. So for like 2 to 3 years, I was like, I don't want to touch paid ads. And I know that's a lot of people's experience in the online space is they've tapped into it, didn't see a return right away. They spent a couple of dollars up front, but they didn't really know what they were doing in order to get that return on ad spend. So that's really why it's so important to track all those metrics that we just mentioned or that I just mentioned. And then when you have those targeted KPIs and you have your budget spend, you can kind of find a way of how to optimize in order to get your return on investment in the green rather than the red.
Absolutely love that, Nina. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So that really just covers setting realistic goals with your spending budget, right? Have a long-term mindset and segment everything down and really slow things down as much as possible and have your expectations set for a 30, 60, 90-day window, especially if you're at a smaller budget that's essentially could potentially double or even triple, right? If you can only start at 10 or 20 bucks a day, that's completely fine. It's just your return is going to happen later it's going to take longer to get that result, right? Because you're not spending as much as quickly. So your amount of lead and influence is less on the platform essentially. So once you start to spend more and more and more, the effect starts to compound. One thing you missed there, Nina, is we do track the amount of time it takes for someone to go from brand new lead to close deal. Because that's essentially once we identify all the things Nina mentioned there, we can say, okay, this lead came in on this day and close on 14 days later. That's like, okay, like how much money can we spend on paid ads, right? Because then we know that money is coming back to us within a 14-day window, which, like you said, Nina, Sid right now, he just closed like 12 grand in the past week, right? So it's like, okay, like let's look over your metrics. And I looked through his data from actually the whole quarter, last quarter, right? And it's like, man, you're like 3x on revenue and 2x on cash. That's not even including what he just closed today. So he's actually probably 4 and 5x cumulatively through all the testing we did and all that stuff, right? And it's like, okay, you just closed those leads in a 7-day window, right? So it's like, how much can you put into ads right now? Because you have everything that you need. It's just, you just need more calls, right? Calculated his close rate and everything, right? And we identified what was the thing that he needed to move the needle to really get that number even better, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's not stated enough that paid ads is not a solution to save, it's a solution to increase. And I want to bring this to the forefront again. And I know that you said it before. It's like making sure that you have things dialed in before you really push into paid ads. But it is going to be a long-term process. So our whole community here at Scaling Lean is called Scaling Lean Cold to Close in 21 days. Because on average, we've seen clients come in and close within a 27-hour window, a 4-day window, a 6-day window. Like that is typical for an optimized paid ad campaign and fully optimized conversion system. But it takes about, like you said, 30, 60, even 90 days to get to that point of seeing that return on ad spend come in and then the snowball effect starting to kick in. And I want to really bring that to the forefront for anyone who is looking to get into paid ads. It's not a quick fix solution for a broken product, service, or offer that you have. It's first you got to dial in your offer, then you got to dial in your messaging, then you have to match the messaging to not only warm traffic, but also cold traffic. Then it's building the cold traffic funnel, and then it's turning on cold traffic. And it's a process to actually get your offer to be not only warm friendly or hot friendly for hot leads and warm leads, but cold friendly as well. And once you have a cold friendly offer, which the offer doesn't have to change, maybe just the messaging around it and how you present it outwardly. And that's where a lot of people mess up. It's like, oh, you have to redo your offer. You have to redo your offer. No, if you're running paid ads, you need to have a scalable offer. That could be something that you already have, but then you need cold friendly messaging to turn a cold lead into a client in that 4, 6, 12, 21-day window that we talk about. And that takes a little bit of time to actually get there, but you're spending money up front to test it so you can see what's working, what's not, and cut the fat and really move forward with what does work. And that's like the realistic thing that people don't talk about. Because a lot of people in the online space that run ads agencies, not to knock anyone, it's like, oh, they're only responsible for leads. So they're not responsible for the close and the conversion process. They're only responsible for, here's a lead, click, and they got it for X many dollars, which is typically under $10. And if they can pump leads for $2, $3, $4, it doesn't matter if they're quality, they're going for quantity. And then they're leaving it to you as a business owner or your appointment setter or your salesperson to sort through and source and kind of like hunt inside of the CRM for a quality lead of all the quantity that they actually accumulated. So I want to really bring it to the forefront, like the process that we've developed is first focus on quality, then increase the quantity of the quality with the optimized system from first click through the entire conversion funnel through close. And if we can look at the metrics, I'm going to say about above 90% with all of our clients, when we actually have ads running and people are hitting the calendar and they're like, oh, I'm not closing deals. We take a look at their sales calls, and over 90% of the time, it's the sales call conducted that wasn't either pre-framed or developed correctly. And then we just have to work on the sales process, and then we're good to go for that 20% or more close.
Yeah, I love that you brought in the sales call there, because a lot of folks that are in the organic space, like that's a whole different experience, right? And I love you also brought in the cold friendly offer, right? Because that is a whole different that's a whole different sales cycle, right? Like someone on the organic side generally has seen you for a while, right? Usually they're on your Facebook lives, they're coming in based on the algorithm, putting them in front of you, and then they follow you, and then they get probably 5 to 7 videos of you, and then they're clicking your link, they're joining your email, then they're booking your call, right? It's generally speaking, it's a longer sales cycle, right? Where for paid ads, especially with VSL funnels like we optimize for, that person's like learning about you rather quickly, and it is an accelerated sales cycle. So we build value content and showcase testimonials and all those great things, but it is more important to really have a structured sales call and really have that dialed in to communicate your value and also showcase like how you can help that person. It's very interesting, right? Because usually that person coming from an ad is seeking that opportunity. So in some cases it can be easier, right? But in other cases, like an organic lead, they can be sometimes more challenging, right? Because maybe they haven't seen the right thing, or there's questions about that certain thing. So it is interesting how that works, and that definitely is part of the optimization phase. And it's important that you're working hand in hand with your agency or with the person that's placing the ads. We work with our clients at the highest level every single week, right? We send them a report, we're hopping on one-to-ones, and we're making sure that the communication stays very clear and concise between the front end, the lead process of placing the ad, and everything coming through that entire process, so we can adjust and tweak and refine. And then that sets us up essentially for what to turn on and off based on those communications that are happening on the calls, and then really know what to scale and what to like drop off completely from.
Yeah. And I want to just tap into 2 things before we wrap this up, because we are a little bit over time. Transitioning from organic, because like if anyone's in this community or if you're new to this community, you're just watching on YouTube, JP and I were very out there when it came to organic content when we were first in the online space. We were all over TikTok, we were all over Instagram, we were all over Facebook. So when people came onto a call with us and they spoke to us in the DMs with our appointment setters and our VAs that we had, there was a lot of one-to-one nurture, as in like, oh, I spoke to you in the DMs. Oh, I've been watching your content for a year. Oh, I've been XYZ. So they hopped on the call. So the call process or the close process felt like oh, the first DM was sent on X day and it closed in 4 days. Great. We have a 4-day sales cycle. But realistically speaking, the sales cycle could have been like a year and a half, and we didn't even know because we didn't track when they followed us through close. But those people would show up to the call and they were kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe you're taking the sales call because XYZ, right? They saw your content for many, many months. They consumed all the content. Whereas there was a learning curve stepping into the paid ads world. And I want to speak for myself. I never want to speak for you, JP, where it was more of like it had to be a real conducted sales call of pulling out more data and not relying on your reputation solely, but actually the solution that your product, service, business, etc., can actually deliver to their specific problem. And like it could be a one-size-fits-all solution for your coaching program in XYZ, But you really have to be more mindful because these people are cold and looking for a solution, and they're probably in the market looking for something rather than looking to buy you as a human, as a personal brand. So you have to take that into account. And this is why organic is super important still when you are running paid ads, because if someone sees a paid advertising, they're inside of your funnel workflow, but they're most likely going to look up Scaling Lean's website or XYZ on social media. They're going to look up Jonathan Floransky and Nina Brennan. So having a robust like traffic strategy of like paid ads and then also an organic presence is super important. But there is a learning curve between stepping from like an organic side into paid ads. And if your close rate drops a little bit, we used to be at like a 70% close rate when we were fully organic, or 70 to 75. And when it dropped, it was like, oh, I'm bad at sales. It's like, no, there was a learning process of actually stepping into the paid ads. And it's super important to understand, like you might have a dip, but once you get acclimated, it's very similar. It's the same routine getting into that sales process, but you have to approach it just a little bit differently. So like one of our clients was like, oh, what do I do? Like I was closing so high and now it's like a lower close rate. It's like, you just have to approach it a little bit differently because people are going to be like, who are you and why are you different? Because they haven't been in the cycle long enough. And this is why it's important, because then it's like, oh, let's put more content in front of them before they get on a phone call. And even that feedback from the phone call could help us optimize the marketing and sales process prior to the call. So everything is used as feedback, even your slightly drops close rate, learning process, etc., and take that into account when you're transitioning over as well.
Absolutely love that, Nina. And just one last thing that I want to put as icing on the cake for this one. The last thing we had is like knowing when it's time to scale, right? And like when is it cool to like add more money to the fire and really dump kerosene on, right? So the whole process that we've explained here is really based on tracking your processes and knowing your KPIs, your key performance indicators through your entire marketing process. So ultimately, once you have identified a winning combination, which if you're starting in the space of $50 a day, we'll say, that would be 2 ads at $25 a day, because you always want to test multiple variables. Like Nina said, we can talk more deep about this. Comment like ad structure below, and we can certainly write a whole live based on ad structure if you guys want. But with that said, once you've identified that winning combination, that is essentially a book call for $150 and an acquisition cost of roughly $1,000 to $1,500, right? Once you've identified that winning combination, you can essentially double or even quadruple your budget. And what we recommend and what we've done time and time again is achieving the $200 a day spending budget, which is roughly $6K a month. And that produces roughly 6 closed deals from 30 book calls. So that's really the KPI and the initial scalability factor that you should aim for inside of your business once you identify those winning combinations, right? And there are some nuances, obviously, in that entire process. And if you need support or want guidance, certainly reach out to us. We also do have a master tracking sheet we'd be happy to share with you so you can understand like what metrics you should be tracking inside of your business to get involved with all this stuff. And I mean, we do have conversionpro.io for y'all to interface with and really build out a bomb-proof CRM to help with your like build a sales pipeline and tap it that you can tap into month over month through the whole scaling process. So I just wanted to put that on the end, Nina, the scalability process for those folks that are at the, let's say like probably $50 a day or $100 a day. Because really, once you get up to, you know, that $200 spend a day, that's really when you shrink the buying cycle down because you're able to spend more, get more quality calls. And that's what ultimately leads to that predictable 30K revenue, right? Month over month, because it all just really starts to compound and compound and compound.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind with what you just brought up was when we were looking to scale our paid advertising, we were hitting that consistency of 6 to 7 closed deals a month, give or take, with the amount that we were spending. We went to our coaches and we were like, what can we do in order to scale? And it was a very scary process because we have broke funnels before, we have broke our ads before with something that was definitely working. And we were like, we didn't know what to do next in order to make it work even better. And something that we were told is just throw more money at the thing that's working. And I just want to be very clear here. It does take very fine tuning and a very specific strategy in order to go from what's really working at like $100, $200 a day to doubling down and spending twice as much on it. It's not just opening the one that's working and putting more money into it. It's actually like taking what's already working and fine tuning it even more and putting it in separate campaigns and doing it that way. So there's a lot of false information out there. There's a lot of people that haven't really touched paid ads that are giving information on it. So just make sure when you are looking to scale your paid ads, like you were just saying, you have the right strategy, because what worked to initially get the ads profitable is not going to work to actually scale your ads. So just wanted to put that out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Nina. I love that little part you put on the end there. So with that said, we have enrolled a couple clients this month. We do cap enrollment at 6 every single month. So we do have some spots open inside the agency and also inside the mastermind community for those folks that are looking for support in the scaling process in quarter 2. Love to hear your goals and what you're working on as well. So drop those comments below here. And any last words, Nina?
To see you next Thursday, 1 o'clock EST. I know that we're both in different time zones, so we'll just stick it with that one.
Right on. We'll see you next week, y'all.